Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our June 12th school committee meeting. Thank you, everyone, we got some people in the audience today, which we're going to talk about in a very brief second, but thank you all for tuning in from home as well. This is my, I guess, sixth time of doing this, and each time this is one of the most enjoyable nights for us. I actually almost get emotional, I really do, because the words come out of my mouth, and it's very real for me that it's your life's work. And that's so very real. My wife's a retired teacher. I did 8 years in education, and it really is these individuals' life's work. So we're very excited tonight to begin our meeting and to allow us as a school committee to personally thank you on behalf of the school committee for the entire town. For all of your life's work, the dedication, the time, and the thousands and thousands of students that you really have impacted. All the people listening in should really realize that what these educators do each and every day and what they did each and every day is change the lives of human beings. And can't pay you enough for that, and your time and dedication to our kids is just profound, and thank you so very much from the bottom of our hearts. Dr. Burroughs?
I'm going to first start off by not everyone was able to be here to be able to be recognized in person, so I want to read off the number of people that are retiring, along with their years of service. And it might not be all years in Foxborough, but I think that you're going to be astounded at the longevity and talking about what the thousands of students that they have impacted. So Sue Carl, who's our department head and math teacher at the high school, 29 years of service. Janet Gracia, who is retired from being the administrative assistant in the superintendent's office, who usually organizes all of this, and I'm looking and don't see her, so that will be a little comment I'll have for her later to be recognized. She's too humble and probably didn't want the spotlight, but 10 years in Foxborough. Rich Lincoln from our technology department as our district technician network specialist, 17 years, Foxborough. Nancy Muse, administrative assistant secretary in the special education office at the IGO, 32 years. Lori Normandin, I see Lori, social worker at the Adjourn, talking about meeting students' needs for so many years, 18 years. Ellen Pillsbury, our school to career specialist at the high school for 10 years. Diane Reedy, I did not see Diane here this evening, English, 7th grade English teacher at the Adjourn for the last 15 years. And it was interesting, when I came to Foxborough, I had been in Norton where she had been in Norton before, so I feel like it's a lot more than 15, like many people here with other years before. Bob Rossetti, our librarian at the Adjourn. Are you ready for this one? 41 years. Talk about a lot of books to a lot of children in 41 years. And I know he's turned so many people on to reading. Linda Scotland, our art teacher, between the Taylor and the Burroughs and probably everywhere else for 27 years. Ricky Sidoric, kindergarten teacher at the IGO for 26 years. Sheila Sneed, being everything to everyone at Foxborough High School for the last 22 years. Steve Warius, a special education teacher at Foxborough High School for the last 16 years. Terry Spink, talk about many as an educational assistant over at the Taylor for 22 years, the number of kindergartners that you've touched. Marilyn Masha, educational assistant at the Adjourn for 24 years. And Elizabeth Bean, preschool teacher at the Burroughs for 29 years. And then Jim McGowan in our payroll in the central office has been with us for 17 years, totaling a whopping 355 years of education serving the students of the Foxborough Public Schools. Wow. And the school committee has a small token, a gift for you, which we're going to come around here in a second to give to you. Oh, I see Diane there now. She's there. I didn't see you before, Diane.
I came late.
Oh, that's all right.
You don't have a career.
It's part of a retirement, right? Being that I look out and see all of your faces, and I've had the opportunity to talk to so many of you individually, I'm just amazed at the educators we have in Foxborough and what you've all done for the children in Foxborough. We have excellent education here. I heard it again today from people that I'm interviewing for people to come here, and what they say is, oh, it's the Foxborough schools, like that's the place to be. Well, that's the place to retire from, evidently, too. So all of your years of service, as Mr. Pearson said, countless, thousands of students, they could not have been more lucky to have the gifted education that you've provided. And it's not just the academics. We know with what we've been through over the last number of years, what you have given your heart and soul to the students of Foxborough. And it's not just about the academics. It is about the social, emotional, the mental well-being, the love that you give to our students each and every day. And I feel so blessed to be in a community, to be here before you, and to know that this is the caliber of faculty and staff that serve our students. And our parents move here for a reason, and you're the reason. So thank you. I wish you the very best in retirement. We know that everyone looks like 15 years younger once they retire. We've seen it. So again, on behalf of the schools, thank you so much for all that you do for our students. And we all want to be able to at least shake your hand and be able to give you a little gift. So
We're going to come around. So the school committee will stand on this side. Dr. Burroughs will give them a clock. And you want to just have them come up or call them by the list or whatever you'd like? Come on around.
do like a little roll call. How about that?
Come on around. Grab a gift and call them up.
All right, Linda,
Come around here.
we'll start with you. For artsy. You bring beautiful work into our world. Ellen. Terry. Millions of kindergartners. Two.
Great, thank you. Thank you.
Diane.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Nancy. Is she Muse? Did she come in? No. Okay, so we'll hold hers.
Thank you for making the time tonight, allowing us to do this publicly. I know it was a night out from your lives, but it's really a great honor, and you really, really deserve it. Thank you. Thank you. You don't have to stay if you don't want to. It could be exciting, but you can.
That could be.
Well, I just,
Promises to be.
it's obviously.
Not even hesitate.
How fast? I didn't see anyone on the public list.
It was empty.
It was empty when I came in.
Good. Well, thank you. That was, again, just wonderful. Thank you all. Yeah, that's great. It's wonderful. Thank you. And thank you, principals, for being here, too. Some of you principals are here as well, so thanks for being and celebrating as well. Next is open public comment, but I didn't see anyone on the list when I walked in, and I don't see anyone raising, and no one on the list, so thank you very much. Next is approval of our minutes from whatever that says. That's May 16th. Thank you very much. I do have one comment, and it's just funny. I think there's a typo because it says a brief video titled "Hummus of the Ahern," and I think it's "Humans of the Ahern," isn't it?
So the hummus is good.
The hummus. I mean, I like. So I'm glad Karen was here. I didn't know if I missed the video, but I think it's just a typo.
Right, Karen?
Yeah, see, yeah. And I know it's just a little typo, but can you see like 30 years down the road, they're like talking about the Ahern has a hummus recipe. So anyways, if we could just correct that.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes with the correction as requested.
I second.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor of approval of the minutes? 5-0 vote. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
I'm going to call you Tina from now on.
I know. That's right. I just thought it was kind of funny. Anyways, Nathan, any student report? Thank you, Nathan.
Hi, me and Grace have a few messages to share, so we split them up kind of evenly. As the school year comes to a close, the BIT principals wanted to take a moment to express their gratitude to the community. We acknowledge our hardworking students for their determination, resilience, and eagerness to learn and grow. They have constantly shown us what it means to be curious, kind, and compassionate individuals. Their achievements, both big and small, have made us immensely proud, and we are excited to see the bright futures that await each and every one of you. We express our gratitude to our school community, the families, teachers, and staff for working together as a united force, always in the best interest of students. Your collective efforts have created a positive and inclusive environment where everyone feels valued, respected, supported, and known. We thank the school committee and Foxborough community for their unwavering support. In partnership, we've created a nurturing and enriching environment where students have flourished academically, socially, and emotionally. To our supportive community members, local businesses, and organizations, we thank you for your continuous support. Your contributions, whether through donations, mentorship programs, or volunteering, have had a lasting impact on our school and the lives of our students. Your belief in the power of education and your investment in our community's future are truly commendable. Sincerely, BIT principals.
Okay. I got the Ahern. So the Ahern Middle School would like to thank the Foxborough community for all of their support as we work together to guide our students through the challenges and successes of middle school. We would also especially like to thank the Ahern PAC for their partnership and for providing an amazing enrichment and social opportunities for our students, including the Warrior Walk, field trips for each grade level, and the new addition of dances for our middle school students this year. Each grade level has participated in an end-of-year trip. The 5th grade went to Old Town Trolley Tours in Boston last week as a part of their social studies curriculum. 6th grade is going to United Skates of America on Thursday for an annual day of community building and celebrating their move up to 7th grade. 7th grade went to Urban Air and learned about the physics and science behind trampolines and rock climbing, and the 8th grade went to Canopy Lake Park this Thursday. Last Friday evening, they brought back the tradition of the variety show. They had many students showcase their talents through song and dance. They ended the evening with the Teacher Act, a choreographed dance performed by more than 30 of the Ahern teachers. We're also excited to celebrate our 8th grade students this Friday morning at 10 a.m. for their promotion ceremony. We're proud of their hard work and accomplishments and wish them the very best as they move on to high school. We wish all our students and family a safe and happy summer. And then also, right now the high school is currently in finals week, meaning it's a half-day schedule. Last week we had the Special Olympics field day, which was a fantastic day, seeing everybody happy and excited to be there and participating. And the 8th graders had their step-up day to the high school, which gives many of them a glimpse into their futures.
And then lastly, the students of the class of 2024 have asked to move commencement from Sunday afternoon to late on Saturday morning. Further, we expect to begin the process of trying to make that a reality by consulting parents and other members of the community to make sure we understand the ramifications of such a decision over the summer. That's all we have.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. What a great report. Thank you both. Thank you. Any questions from the committee?
How many days of school are left?
2.5.
Well, good luck on finals week. I'm glad you mentioned that. It's stressful time for some of the high school students coming right to the end, so I know they have half days, but good luck in the finals. Keep working right to the end. Work hard to the end. Next is our superintendent's update.
So graduation was a success, and we had many things that led up to graduation with the awards, scholarship night. It just really reminds us of how fortunate we are in the community and how generous so many people are with the scholarships that are awarded. We also had afterwards the undergraduate awards. I love the underclassmen awards ceremony because you really start to see the talents in different areas, whether it's the arts or business or the STEM areas or humanities. And it's just amazing how many students that really are excelling in such different ways. It's just so comprehensive. So that's exciting to see all of their efforts recognized at the end of the year. And graduation, as far as I've heard from the student body, that they've been talking about some changes for next year, which that would end up being something that would come back before school committee, being that it's on the calendar already. So be interested to hear more of how you reach out to stakeholders to get more information there. The Special Olympics last Wednesday, so we had over 70 volunteers from the high school. It was the first time that we'd hosted it. Back before COVID, it had been hosted at Attleboro High School. And this was our way of having something here for the first time and seeing how it would go and then kind of go to scale. And the parents that were there volunteering, Michelle was there too. It just was such a wonderful event with so many people that pitched in to make it happen. Teresa Petty and Colleen Foley, the two really spearheaded the whole day, thinking of absolutely everything. And Dr. Donovan, he had ordered the weather, and it came out exactly the way he ordered it.
Pre-ordered it.
And all of the principals were there as well throughout the day, and just the excitement with the students. It was a great day. Busy days, as you mentioned, lots of field trips coming up, definitely with our middle schoolers. And athletics, so our girls lacrosse team are in the semifinals, and they will be playing Newburyport in Woburn tomorrow at 4. And then if they win, then it goes on to, I think, Saturday. Is that right? Saturday?
At Babson College. It'd be at Babson.
At Babson.
Yeah, times aren't announced yet.
Okay, all right. So we wish them the absolute best tomorrow. And then I wanted to make sure to congratulate some of our middle school students who participated in the annual Invention Convention at Bridgewater State University. Yep. So one of our math teachers, they've been teaching in Learning Highlight in the past, Mr. Alan Sharman, with 14 students that competed. And one of our teams received 3rd place for their Heat 20 invention, which essentially the invention was a way to utilize solar energy to heat water so it could be circulated for heating a home.
Oh, that's cool.
And then the other group, they presented an echo roll invention. So I thought this one, when we think about teaching and learning, it was although they didn't win, a very useful invention here, I might say. It's a rolled up whiteboard, so they can take it with them wherever they go. They have it right at the ready, and then it can be easily attached to a desk or anywhere to be able to utilize that. So our inventors, congratulations to all of them and to Mr. Sharman for that, which is great. And then you mentioned the 8th grade promotion ceremony on Friday, and really, I would just say what's been said before. Thank you I think you did a great job with your report there. The thanks to all of our parents in the community and then the teachers for all that they've done as we get ready for the last day of school, which is a half day on Friday. I think everybody knows that by now. But just remember, if you're not home, your students are coming home half day on Friday. But it really has been an extraordinary year, and a lot has been accomplished and a lot of growth. From students, not just academically, but again on the social emotional side. And we see that still, and we'll continue to see that from what we've been through. And I just, as I mentioned before, I couldn't be more proud of the educators, the faculty and staff that serve our students every day, because they really do get an outstanding education. That's it.
Thank you. I did want to jump on you talked about the Special Olympics, us hosting that. So if anyone's watching on TV, I just really want to thank us for doing this. Thank everyone for doing Special Olympics. And if you've never been to a Special Olympics event, you need to go, because it truly is the pure joy of sport. It will ground us all very well if we would attend events like that to see what sport is about and what the joy of being in sport is. So they're great events, so it's great that we can host that.
And I'd be remiss, Mr. Michael Isaac, of course, as well. I did
Yes,
not mention
yes.
him, along with the principals.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Great. Next on the agenda is our science curriculum review. We have Dr. Burroughs, Dr. Mocharnuk, and Noelle Hendrixson, I think. Do you guys want to come up front? And before you start talking, just to thank, I've been thanking a lot of people tonight, I guess, all the teachers for you. I'm sorry, we're thanking too many people, but just thank you.
Never enough
I
gratitude.
know, thank you very much. Just thank you all for your hard work. If anyone follows these school committee meetings a lot, we go through some of these curriculum reviews, and probably to the lay person, it could be dry. There's a lot of stuff there, we all know that, right? But I just implore us to pay attention, because the depth of work and the time spent to make the best decision we can for the future of our schools is what this is really about. So we go through a lot of things and we say a lot of things in these, but these are really important topics that we all delve into when these come before us. So thank you for all the work.
All right. So I'm Melissa Mocharnuk. And
We got the baton.
oh, yeah.
Nice.
And this is Noelle Hendrixson.
Hi. We engaged this year in a science curriculum review, and I have to say, I echo, Richard, what you were saying. Sometimes you enter these, and it feels a little daunting, because you have a whole year ahead of you to explore all these new things and to learn so much. But then at the end, when you look at this report, and you feel like very proud that this committee came together, and we want to put the best curricular materials and make the best decisions for kids, and that's where this all comes from. So thank you for having us tonight. You will see that we had a really nice cross-section of teachers and administrators who were on this committee, who served beside us and with us and went above and beyond even the hours that we asked them to do, because they care so much about what they're teaching and how they're teaching it. So I will pass it over to you.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting that the last time that we had curriculum review was right as the state was just about to pick up their version of the Next Generation Science Standards. The Next Generation Science Standards were released in 2013. Massachusetts adopted at the end of 16. Here we are now. And we started making changes at that time, especially at the lower levels, because the MCAS moved immediately. And we were all warned, oh, don't change high school until we're going to change the MCAS, which that was delayed by a few years. And so we were lucky to be able to push the curriculum review until this fall so that we had seen the new MCAS before going into it, so that we weren't going to be trapped with decisions that were made in the dark. But all of the levels now have fully embraced, sure, we'll go with that, fully embraced the Next Generation Science Standards, which are really focused on the practices of science. And so the way I like to think about it is that we used to use the practices of science in order to teach content to students, and now the roles are reversed. We're using the content of science in order to teach students those scientific thinking methods, those scientific practices.
All right. So one of our first things that we engaged in was an equity assessment, sort of to wrap our minds around where are we in terms of we used a rubric to self-identify where we were in terms of equity for curriculum, instruction, assessment, and professional development. So we talked a lot about this as a committee, because we wanted to make sure that we had, we're looking at everything through that lens of equity. Are we giving kids access? Are we making sure that we're putting curriculum in front of them that's representative of everyone in the room or everybody's backgrounds, things like that that are so important to us. And so when we did that, we used that tool. We sort of came up with some identified strengths and some things that we knew that we wanted to work on, areas of growth. And we used that tool to sort of to delineate those things. And so we felt really good about our curriculum. Was, we had digital, we had print resources, we knew that all students were expected to master the standards at all the levels. We felt good about the real-world applications through a lot of hands-on projects and things like that. Where we found that we needed to grow was in some spots at the high school, so you could talk about that.
So I think it's fair to say that the students engage in flexible and heterogeneous groupings at the lower levels all the time in every class, whether it's science or English or math. That's just the way it's set up. And that's not the way things are set up at the high school. And one of the first things we recognized is that we didn't have as much flexibility for students to move in and out of the classes that they might have interest in at the high school. And so that's a place where we realized, okay, that's a real strength for our lower levels, but it's also an area of growth at the high school.
And for us in elementary, the teachers, as you know, last year we adopted a lot of new programs in ELA. And so our teachers focused a lot on learning those new platforms and figuring out how to make that work for the students in front of them. They were not able to have as much minutes for science as they wanted. They want to teach science, they love to teach science. But what they did was they wove a lot of the science into their ELA block for their nonfiction readings and things like that. And then what got shortchanged a little bit was those hands-on experiments in elementary school because of all this other curricular adoption. So that was an area of growth. And we noticed too at elementary, it was not as consistent as we wanted it to be in terms of the 3 buildings having consistency with science. In terms of what they were using to teach, we knew that we wanted to shore up and make things much more consistent amongst the 3 elementary schools. So one of the things that we did as a team right after we did the equity assessment is we developed a vision statement for science. What do we want and what do we value in science education, right? Because before we start looking at anything, any programs or any sort of thing like that, we wanted to make sure that it aligned to the vision, and we didn't have one. So we made one, and you can read it. But we felt this vision statement embodied what we wanted science education to look like in Foxborough, K up to 12. And in doing that, we were able to then define what does the student experience then look like for kids in Foxborough, so that we were making sure that whatever decisions we made or any recommendations that we have here aligned to our vision and what we wanted the student experience to be. So we talked about experiential learning, we talked about everything being equitable and accessible, the science practices like Alyssa talked about, and then the 4 C's, which were also in the vision, which is the communicate, collaborate, create, being creative, and having the critical thinking piece as well.
And at the high school, we, as you'll see in a minute, have really decided to go all in on making some changes. And so before we went any further with that, we went ahead and developed a rubric based on these defining E's, our 4 E's. It was a little gross as we talked about it. But made a rubric of, okay, what does this mean? What are we looking for? And we took our rubric with us when we went on our visits and when we had our meetings with the various providers of different things to say, okay, does this actually, are we excited about this? Or is this something that actually meets the needs that we have?
So one of the other things that we did was I wanted to know what surrounding districts were doing, especially asking the question about a STEM special. So where are we in Foxborough, compared to other places nearby? And so you can see that in the survey of the neighboring schools, many, more than half, have STEM specials. They're different in each district, but they typically have a makerspace. They typically have a special that kids go out to, like a lab. Usually there's some sort of digital learning coach involved or a STEM coach involved in running that. And the curriculum or the approach that they use is typically Project Lead the Way or engineering computer science. And there is, like I said, a lab available for them to do those hands-on activities. So I did want to know what they were doing outside of Foxborough, and we did get some information off of that. So then we surveyed the teachers because we want their input. We want to know what are you happy with? What do you want to start? What do you want to stop? What do you want to continue? They all said in elementary they love teaching science because kids love it so much. Kids get so much out of it. They're so excited. They felt like they just didn't have as much time to do the hands-on activities as they do to actually weave in the readings. They can spark curiosity in the ELA block and even outside of the ELA block with a dedicated science time. But what they were missing were those hands-on opportunities. They did not love the program that we've been using, which is Inspire Science. Not too many teachers were actually using that. The last program review was
8 years
eight
ago.
years ago, and that was adopted back then. Most of them supplement a lot, but it's all driven by the standards. They did not love the fact that Inspire did not feel like it was supportive of inclusive practices. It was like very heavy reading load, and it was not necessarily, they weren't able to differentiate very much, which they really wanted to be able to do. And then for the middle school, we use STEM Scopes that's our curricular resource. Again, the standards drive all of it, but they wanted to really look at other programs that were out there, other sort of packaged programs. They wanted to see what else was out there. They really wanted to make sure that they had enough hands-on labs. So at the middle school, they definitely have time to teach science because they're mostly science teachers. So they wanted to make sure that we have a program that had the most hands-on opportunities for kids in the most inclusive way. So that sort of drove us into looking at other curriculum.
Right. So we had a slightly different approach at the high school because we had 5 high school teachers on the curriculum review team, and there are, including our special education science teacher, there are 10 science teachers at the high school. So half of us were already there. So we spent a lot of time discussing these things during department meetings and informally at lunch, and looking at what our strengths were and our interests were as a staff at the high school, and where we thought there was room to grow as a staff at the high school. And then we also put a lot of time into finding out what were the programs we needed to investigate, and then going out and doing that investigation. So we went to see, there were 3 of us that went to Plymouth North to go see Open Syed, and that included members of the committee and just other members of the science department. There were 5 of us that went to see the Project Lead the Way program at Uxbridge High School, and a semi-overlapping 5 that went to Needham High School to go see the modeling program in chemistry and physics there, in order to really get an understanding of what all these programs were, that we were going, okay, we've already taken a look, we have a sense of what the really big players are, let's go find out what works for us. And everybody really dove in and went hard on finding out what fit and what didn't. And I think what you'll see is that all of them are very student-driven and are very phenomenon-driven, and they all claim to be phenomenon-based. And I think it's important that you understand that, like, a phenomenon-based curriculum means that at the beginning of each unit, we have some driving phenomena that's introduced to the students. And it could be as simple as having a toy car drive across the floor of the room, or it could be a time delayed video watching a plant grow and then swing back and forth as the sun goes past, but they don't necessarily know what's going on there. But we keep coming back to that and coming back to that and coming back to that throughout the unit if we're using a phenomenon-based approach. Can we click? Yeah. So what we found is that amongst our staff, we have a strong staff that has a lot of flexibility. We have 2 teachers who have 3 licenses, 4 teachers with 2 licenses, keeping in mind that depending on what you consider a science license, there are between 5 and 6 science licenses at the high school level. And if I have a biology license, that does not mean I can teach physics. And if I have an earth and space license, that doesn't mean I can teach computer science. And all of those things fall under the heading of science, depending on who you ask. So it's really great that we have staff that have multiple certifications. And our staff is, in large part, the reason they have those multiple certifications is they majored in that in college, and they probably minored in another science area as well. And it's made the staff very comfortable developing their own curriculum, which is what historically has been the practice in Foxborough for years and years and years. We have books, they're reference materials, they're great, but we've made the curriculum ourselves from scratch. But we know that we need to work on real-world applications, and we need to work on integrating those science practices, as well as all those real-life skills that students need that are continuously changing for everyone, but also for high school students. And in order to do that, we're going to need to take some time to develop assessments that are more practical, not just multiple choice assessments. And we're going to need to take some time to work together to see what's working in one room and can it be applied in another room. And so we're going to need some PLC time. And we don't have that right now, but we know that the schedule is changing at the high school. And so we're looking forward to being able to have that as the schedule changes in response to the NEASC report. And always technology, 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 and not shoving it in sideways just because we need to use technology, but how can we use it in a way that's appropriate to the moment and actually drives that scientific thinking and thinks about scientific practices. All right.
So that takes us to the recommendations. For K-4, the recommendations, the biggest recommendation that we are asking for is an elementary STEM special, where students would go out to a STEM lab to receive those hands-on science experiences that we feel like would, number one, make it so that it was consistent across elementary schools, but also give kids that opportunity to make sense of the science in a hands-on way. It doesn't mean that the classroom teachers aren't teaching science. We want them to they love teaching science. They love it. They don't want it to be taken away from them, but they would really value having them go out for the hands-on, but then still teaching the science, the readings and things like that during the ELA block or outside of it. So what we're recommending is the science lab one time per cycle, where they would get the lab, the computer science standards, the digital learning standards as well could be incorporated into that special. Also, the idea of a makerspace being available for one per building would be so ideal as well. I was hoping to take next year to build that position and what is that going to look like exactly. Onboarding, job descriptions, what is the classroom teacher responsible for, what is the STEM special responsible for, that's going to take a little time to build out. So we were hoping to put that into effect for the next school year 24-25, yeah. And so for elementary science, we have a lot of resources. We have a lot that we're just going to organize it. We're going to use homegrown units. We're going to create what we want to teach. And what we're doing, we just met with all of the elementary teachers actually for their June release meetings, Karen McKinnon and I. And what we did was we are building pacing guides for ELA, but we're weaving in social studies units and science units into those pacing guides so that they are, teaching forces in fourth grade. They're reading books about forces and all those things, and then they hopefully go out to the special and actually perform that. But we're building out those pacing guides. We've started the work. There's going to be summer work involved in that and also work into next year. But it really is so teacher-driven because they're the ones doing the work, and they're excellent at identifying, what resources best hit those science standards. We are also creating, it's already started, but an elementary science website similar to our math website as well, where we're going to just put all the resources there so that it's really easy for teachers to grab them. All right, so for middle school, it took us having to look at new programs to realize we actually had the best program. And I'm glad we did this because we got pitches from 5 different vendors, and after every single one, my teachers said, I don't love this. This is not that much. First of all, it's not that different, but there's also not as much hands-on stuff. We like we like this. I talked to a bunch of other curriculum directors in Massachusetts who said, if you want hands-on and that's your vision, STEM Scopes is the best thing to use. So I said, okay. So I called STEM Scopes. I said, is there new stuff on here that I don't know about? I want to know, what's coming out on the cutting edge. They said, oh yeah, there's been a lot that we've added in the last few years. Okay, so they are going to come to us in August and do a reinvigoration PD because they want to, that's what they're calling it. They want to reinvigorate us and they want to get us excited about STEM Scopes again, and I think that's what we really need. They also have come out with some reading materials that I've also that I'm also recommending that we purchase as well, they've listened to the feedback, and so I feel really good about going forward with them. So we are going to stick with them. We have a 5th grade special where they go for computers, but we're reimagining that, and that teacher is actually going to get Project Lead the Way trained for 2 courses, so they'll actually go out to that, we're going to call it a STEM special, but we don't have to create it, but they're going to go and they're going to have a much richer opportunity than they have right now. So we're so excited about that grade 5 STEM special. And the STEM Scopes is also going to come to our PLCs next year. 3 times per year, they're going to come to each of my PLCs for science, so grades 5 through 8, and work specifically on those standards with the teachers. So they're very excited about that too. So, and then I did mention the science concierge position too. We do have a funded science concierge who goes out and grabs materials that we need all the time. And teachers are just so thrilled with that position, and we want to keep her.
All right, so I was talking about how we had entirely homegrown units before, and that's what we've done. And we've decided that that may not be the thing to do forever. We are looking at going to the AMTA, that's American Modeling Teachers Association, curriculum for both chemistry and physics. And the great thing about these is they're much more a pedagogy than a set curriculum. They'll give you a curriculum, it comes with the training, but if there's a unit that's not there, that's really important to you, or that's included in the standards, but that they haven't made it, they've given you the resources and the skills to say, okay, I know how to teach forces, which is obviously in the physics curriculum. But nonetheless, this is an important unit for me. And so this is the process you use, and be able to identify, okay, here's going to be our paradigm lab to start this off. This is the phenomena that's going to drive the unit. And we can add in things, take out things, and it be flexible to meet the needs of our students in Foxborough and to meet the needs of the standards in Massachusetts, not just the national standards. For biology, modeling is not as fleshed out as it is for chemistry and for physics. And Open SciEd was created to address the practices and address the next generation science standards. And we looked at this for both biology and for physics. It's in pilot only in a couple of schools in Massachusetts at the high school level right now, and they've still got one more pilot year left. It's not completely finished, but we were able to see teachers in the classrooms actually using the materials, and then those schools that are piloting it are providing the feedback so that Open SciEd can make the changes that are needed in order to individualize the curriculum to Massachusetts, and again, instead of just with the national standards. But where we visited, and then all the other people I've talked to, raved about the biology curriculum for Open SciEd. We talked to individual teachers at different schools. They all thought it was amazing, though a very big change from the way we've all traditionally taught science, because it's very, very practices forward. It is that very phenomenon based. It's not let's learn the vocabulary of biology and then regurgitate it for the MCAS. It's let's do actual hands-on science. Let's think about the why, and how do we develop another experiment in order to verify that it's not just this one-off thing where this works. So it's going to be a large undertaking, and it's going to take a while. We're also looking at adopting some Project Lead the Way courses in our electives area, and we're starting with the easiest one, hopefully. We've picked out a book for AP Biology because the book is 20-something years old, which is not fundamentally bad. There's nothing in it that's wrong, but the AP Biology curriculum has fundamentally changed since the book that was originally created for it was released. And this book is, again, associated with those next generation science standards, that practices forward phenomenon-based teaching method. And so giving resources to the teacher and to the students in order to have a different approach to the same material. And as I talked about earlier, we had some concerns about the flexibility and the heterogeneity of our groups. And we'd been running a 2-year biology program at the CP2 level at the high school, where they took Biology 1, and then they took Biology 2, and it took 2 years to be prepared for MCAS. And we've decided that that's not going to work, and that all of those students need to be included in our regular CP classes. And so starting next year, there's biology, and all students will be in biology. We do still have honors and CP, but we'll have, instead of our special education science teacher having a sub-separate classroom for the CP2 biology, that teacher will go in and be co-teaching 2 periods a day. And that teacher had been co-teaching 1 period a day anyhow, and so we're going to reallocate the existing resources, and then going to need some additional resources, which I think have already been addressed, in order to also make the chemistry sections have 2 co-taught chemistry sections at the high school rather than supported sections without assistants at the high school. And then that, as that slowly rolls forward, so that students who had been in the CP2 program aren't just jerked out of that environment, we can roll it out smoothly. We'll have one more possible place where we'd had another section in order to maybe give a co-taught physics, or a co-taught forensics, or a co-taught project lead the way, or whatever it is the students are interested in as we move forward.
All right. So as we sort of mentioned, just to wrap up, the professional development recommendations for elementary would be, I would facilitate a working group next year for teachers so that they could help build these homegrown units. We make sure we have the best resources that we have, and also create a science website for elementary teachers to pull from. At middle school, we are looking for a STEMscopes reinvigoration PD, as I mentioned, and having them visit our PLCs as well. So hopefully that's going to help us for our middle school and our elementary school.
And then, as I've mentioned before, we have lots of different disciplines at the high school. And so what's available for professional development varies from discipline to discipline. And I cannot possibly get facilitator trained in every possible one of them for a wide variety of reasons. To become a facilitator in the modeling program requires a minimum commitment of 3 summers at 2 full-time weeks of professional development training for the facilitator, so that would not really fit our timeline in any reasonable way. And instead, we're going to recommend that individual teachers for chemistry and physics over the next 2 summers, physics this summer, chemistry next summer, get the opportunity to go out for professional development in the modeling method. And then in the meantime, I will become facilitator trained in the Open SciEd for biology, so that by the time we're ready to go to biology, all of biology, we can do biology within the building, though it's still going to be a pretty crazy lift.
So the proposed timeline for K-8 is year 1 summer curriculum work, which I've already had a ton of people want to do the science work. They really want to help build out these units. And I told you, we already have an elementary science website that's already begun. We're so excited about this Project Lead the Way expansion in grade 5. That means that we're going to have even more Project Lead the Way at the Adjourn. We already have several courses going on there, and to have it at grade 5, we feel really fortunate about that. And I talked about the reinvigoration PD, including the PLC visits. So that would be year 1.
And then you can read about years 2, 3, 4, and 5 in the full report. But for year 1, we're doing summer curriculum work in order to both send teachers out to learn modeling for physics, and then come back and get that on paper, develop it into Universal Design for Learning based UBD, Understanding by Design, units that we are writing out, which then also forwards our needs for NEASC. And we're going to focus the PD throughout the year on these phenomenon-based ideas. We can start with moving everyone towards developing these paradigm labs in order to start every unit with a phenomenon, how to generate questions, how to use those questions in order to drive student learning throughout the unit, and make a slow transition before we jump all the way in on the curriculum over the next several years. We're also going to start Project Lead the Way environmental sustainability. We're launching that class next year. We have a course called Environmental Sustainability at the high school already, and we are lucky enough to have a very excited student who has decided that she is going to be an environmental engineer and engineer bioplastics. She has informed us that that is her plan for life. And so she, even though environmental sustainability had not run for a few years, she went out and recruited enough students that we had to turn them away. And we felt like that was a really great place because Project Lead the Way has that environmental sustainability engineering course, that we could make the smooth transition there while we've got the interest. So we have a teacher who'll be trained in that over the summer in order to shift from her curriculum to the Project Lead the Way curriculum. And then, of course, we're going to be working on integrating the CP2 science classes into co-taught classes and all the professional development and work that goes with that.
Just a few key budget implications. The summer curriculum work is going to really be important for this, for elementary science, especially because we want to make sure that we have vetted the best resources and that we have teacher input on those resources. The elementary STEM special is an estimated increase of 2 FTE. And the STEM Scopes cost for the new materials also has an implication as well, because we're going to get workbooks and things like that. The Makerspace is estimated at $10,000 per building, but that I think we can maybe apply for grants for that, and I'll be working on that as well in the next couple of years because I really do want kids to have that experience in elementary. And the Generation Genius district license has a cost as well. Generation Genius is associated with the NSTA, and it's a bunch of videos and resources that actually align so well with science. And it's we got the district license K to 8, so super engaging videos with lots of readings involved as well. And I just think that it's a really valuable resource. We had teachers pilot it this year in grade 4 and raved about it and loved it. So now we're going to move forward with that as well.
And compared with K through 8, because we are able to get a lot of grants to fund things, we don't have a lot to put on that slide at the high school level. Everything fits into what the budget is already, or we can grant fund it with a small exception of the costs associated with Project Lead the Way, and it just requires a lot of materials, and it depends on student interest how much that's going to cost us.
So what you all have in front of you, and thank you so much. You both did an excellent job. What you didn't see throughout this school year is that behind the scenes, really thorough, really thoughtful work that both Ms. Hendrixson and Dr. Mocharnuk did throughout the school year with their teams. They were just really did an excellent job and really committed to aligning that work and those recommendations to the vision. What you have in front of you that requires a school committee vote tonight are 2 items. They're both specific to the high school. One is to adopt the AP Biology textbook, and the other is to commit to a Project Lead the Way expansion for next school year for the engineering pathway up at the high school.
Thank you. So those are the only things that we would need voted on tonight for that purpose?
Correct.
Okay. Questions of the committee?
I do.
Yeah, please.
So first, thank you both. It was excellent and engaging, and they need to come up with a new word for reinvigoration, because that's awful. But other than that, and certainly thank you to all the other members of the committee for all the work that they put into it. On the last slide, on the budget slide, I have a couple of questions. On the makerspace, is that an estimated one-time cost per building?
So we need to get supplies, and those supplies tend to be consumable, and so I am assuming that we are going to have to keep up with those materials. I'd like to see how other districts are doing that. I'd like to talk to other people. I'd like to see if we could apply for a grant, what that would look like. But yes, I'm assuming it would have to be, I don't know what the cost to keep it going would be, but I'm not sure yet.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's what I thought too. I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure I understood, so thank you.
Yes.
And then on the Generation Genius, what is the life of that license?
So that license, I believe we're in, you know what, I want to say 3 years. I want to say it's a 3-year district license,
Okay.
K to 8, yes.
Okay. Thank you. Those are my questions.
Thank you.
Wow.
Brent, yeah, go ahead.
comment, wow.
I have 5 questions. Just for clarification, what are we talking about in terms of maker spaces? What you've seen, I'm glad you went on so many site visits. What do these things look like? What's the range?
Yeah, so there's not a one-size-fits-all answer to that question. I think a lot of people put them into the existing libraries, media centers of their buildings. I think that they have a lot of parent donations as well. They ask for a lot of donations from the community and from parents. I see things as simple as Legos. I see things as more high tech, as them actually building and coding and actually making things that move. It's one of those things that doesn't have a huge definition involved with it, and I think we can make it whatever we want. I'm hoping that.
What are your, like,
Yeah, I'm hoping that we can onboard STEM specialists that have a vision for this. That's my hope, because I want those people to be the ones who are leading that charge. So for me, that job description is I want to ask them, like, what is your vision? Because a lot of people have experience with running maker spaces and with also imagining what those could be. So I think that needs to be some of that role too.
Then, following from that, my compliments for keeping it loose in your framing, knowing that you're going to take the successive years to vision what that is, because that's ideal. Because it'll look different than other schools, and when it's not done well, it's a pile of toys donated by parents, and that's really neat, and then it gets dusty. And people don't know how to use it, and it's not connected to the curriculum, which is nothing you presented here. Everything you presented here is interwoven and robust, and so I'm glad you're going to take your time on that.
That would probably be not next year.
Yeah.
Or the year after. It would be after that STEM special has been rolling for a year, I would want to introduce the makerspace, because we want to make sure that STEM special is done as, to the best of our ability and make sure that that is super aligned for kids. Right. The makerspace is a nice add-on for that, and I'm excited about it, but I also think it's going to look different in 2 years than it would right now. I mean, hopefully, because we're going to make things better, but we are going to take time to build that out and make sure that we have the best supplies for kids.
And then just that more commentary before questions. Yes, if you have stuff like that, there will be consumables. It will impact the budget, and it should. It should, because if you're going to teach hands-on science, you need stuff.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, just look at your high school budget. It's like a lot of consumables, and it should be.
I use a lot of consumables.
Yes, you do.
And I don't feel bad about it.
And you should. And you shouldn't feel bad about it at all. And you shouldn't feel bad for asking. Second, when it comes to Project Lead the Way, is there... I know there's a startup cost to getting the stuff, and I know we've done grants and stuff for some of them, but we're well into it and expanding it, and that's good. Is there an annual fee still for joining their club?
Yes.
For calling it a club, okay. And does it scale to the number of classes we offer?
It costs the same amount whether we offer one engineering class or all
30.
8 of their engineering classes.
Cool.
Whether we run one section of one of those or we run 4 sections of all 8, which we're going to need additional FTEs if we're going to do that. But
Understood.
we don't have that many.
So we already bought in. We already bought in, meaning we're paying the annual subscription.
Well, right now, we're
Project
paying an annual, so at the high school, right now, we're paying an annual subscription fee for the University of Texas at Austin Engineer Your World program in order to run the engineering program, and that costs $3,000 this year, but it's $3,200 next year. We've been paying that fee since 2014. And next year, we're covered by the grant for the participation fee for Project Lead the Way, and as we are for the year after that. And then that would be the point at which we could then discontinue the UT Austin Engineer Your World program. And so it's an increase of around $400 to go to Project Lead the Way instead of UT Austin, but it's not a, oh my gosh.
That's not huge. Okay, thank you. And then we looked at Open SciEd for high school, was that one of the ones that you looked at for middle school as well?
We did.
And
Yep.
what was the verdict?
The verdict was it was a very big shift pedagogically that I wasn't sure, and the committee wasn't sure, that teachers felt was something that they felt super comfortable with, to be honest. And there's such good things about Open SciEd, but I think when we looked at our values and our vision and wanting to make sure that we were delivering instruction with the most hands-on investigations possible in the way in which we wanted to make sure that we stayed with those 3 C's, I think that STEM Scopes came out on top. That was.
And what's the kind of the brief on STEM Scopes? What are their hallmarks?
So they really favor hands-on labs. That is where they are the strongest. What teachers found was a weakness was that their kids weren't doing enough readings, and they wanted. It was almost like the pendulum was like shifting a little bit. When they adopted STEM Scopes, it was so hands-on, and then they were missing some text. And so STEM Scopes said, well, I have these like workbooks now that actually have these readings, so you can do both. And they're all online or they're physical as well. But they've come out with many more new features. They're allowing us to create assessments. They're allowing us to use their questions, redo their questions. There's item banks available for us that weren't there before. There's just a lot of new features and new videos and things like that we felt really good about sticking with. The overhaul into something like Open SciEd was daunting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a philosophical shift.
A very big philosophical shift.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the other one was, I lost the levels at the high school.
Okay.
Are there currently 4, and you're saying let's go to 3?
Sort of? Okay.
Phasing into 3?
So currently in biology, we have biology honors, biology CP, it's college prep, and we have biology CP2, and the CP2 spans 2 years. That's what biology currently looks like, and we're moving forward with biology and honors and biology and CP, and all the students that have been CP2 will be fully included in the classroom.
Over 1 year, and you'll have some co-taught.
So right now, we
sections of
have
that.
one co-taught section of biology CP, and we have 2 supported sections, but we have a lot of students whose IEPs call for that in this particular freshman class. In the next year's freshman class, we have fewer students who have those requirements in their IEPs.
Sure.
And all of the students that would have been in supported or co-taught under the current model will fit into 2 co-taught classes, including also the CP2 students that we would have had in a separate room,
And in
moved in
terms-
with reasonable numbers.
Okay. And are those courses, whether they're co-taught or not, projecting forward, going to get the same GPA and credit treatment?
Same GPA,
as-
same credit, same curriculum, same everything except 2 teachers.
Good. Okay. And thank you. That helps a lot. And does that project forward into chemistry
So
and
chemistry,
physics?
chemistry and physics currently have honors, physics, CP physics, and conceptual chemistry or conceptual physics. And we are eliminating the conceptuals. And those classes sometimes have a lot of students with special needs and sometimes have a lot of students who are less motivated. And it's better to integrate all of those students into one CP classroom. In chemistry, we'll have a co-teacher immediately, and then we're going to have to figure out how it works for physics and all of the electives. But we do require 1 life science and 1 physical science, as well as a 3rd year in science for the graduation requirement, and those are typically fulfilled by biology and chemistry. So those are the most important places to make sure we have that support for students, and then we can figure it out.
And when environmental comes online,
That's next year.
which of those 2 would that fulfill?
That falls under the heading of electives. So so we have biological ones, we have physical, and we have a pile just labeled as electives.
And then I saw it's year 5, looking at onboarding the AP.
AP Environmental, that's our hope, is that we're ready by then.
my only plug with that is that's, of all the things you're onboarding, that's probably the lightest lift, if you have the personnel.
But there's a personnel issue as well.
There you go. Okay.
Do we have enough FTEs to make it work? Yes. Do we have enough FTEs that are certified in the right things to make it shuffle right now? No.
There you go.
But we have time to get people trained.
And the only reason I mentioned that, just on the heels of the leveling, is that's also an equity thing, because it's probably the most accessible of the AP sciences, and in places that I've had it you get a lot of kids who wouldn't necessarily consider an AP, both because of interest and accessibility of the curriculum and the nature of the fact you can see the curriculum around
Yeah.
you, that you get a lot of kids in those there who it becomes their first, sometimes their only AP. So
Right.
it's nice to have.
Absolutely. It also has a thing that is a concern for us, which is until the transfer of the AP Physics B was eliminated in 2015.
Yep.
And AP Physics 1 and 2 were brought on board at that point. AP Environmental Science was the record holder for 20 years running as the course with the lowest pass rate nationally with the College Board. And so we've talked back and forth about it gives them access, is it setting them up for failure? It gives them access, is it setting them up for failure? And that's a really tough balance, and that we need the right teacher, the right kids, just to make it all flow.
With the right teacher. I mean, I would always argue that it's better to try to play in the game than have gotten the passing score. But and again, I'm only asking from an equity standpoint, not
Absolutely.
from what you're actually doing. So thank you so much for enduring my questions.
Anyone else?
Anything else? Any questions? Michelle, any questions?
No, I just had questions about Makerspace, but you answered them all. Thank you.
Rob had another
Yeah, I
question.
actually have two more questions on the two items that you're asking us to take action on this evening. So is there a budget impact on the adoption of the new AP biology text?
It's within our curriculum
No, it's
adoption
within.
line.
Perfect, thank you. And then on what is the same question on the commitment to adopting the Project Lead the Way expansion for engineering pathway? Is there a budget impact on that?
It's again going to
Same
be
thing?
funded through our curriculum and program
Perfect.
review
I just
adoption
wanted
line for
that
this
stated
year.
out loud
Yeah.
and captured in the minutes, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
So I have a couple questions. I want to just dovetail back on this question here. So it says Project Lead the Way expansion at the high school.
Expansion to the high school.
Expansion to the high school. Good. I wanted to make sure I got that because I was like, did I just miss that Project Lead the Way was at the high school? So I knew I didn't miss that. So this is just really an expansion cost to review and evaluate Project Lead the Way at the high school. Do I have that right? Is there a Project Lead the Way course at the high school next year?
There is a Project Lead the Way course at the high school next year.
If you vote that.
If you vote for it.
If you vote that.
If we vote this expansion.
Correct.
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 Got it.
So we currently run almost all of the Project Lead the Way course offerings that are available to us at the middle school level. We've not yet run a Project Lead the Way course at the high school level or at the elementary level. So this would be a vote to expand our commitment to Project Lead the Way into the high school, introducing one course per year for the next few
3 or
years.
4, we'll see.
3 or 4 years.
As the elected.
Good, I understand that. So the staffing, we have planned the staffing in the budget for a Project Lead the Way course at the high school when we went through the budget process.
So when we think about the program of studies and all of the courses, they don't run every year.
I understand that, right?
So the elective courses, this would be, this course doesn't run because this course is running. So it's not, I know where you're going with that. That's not an increase in an FTE.
That's right. And the same thing with the AP as well, right? Okay, I just wanted to make sure, okay, got it, okay. Because I don't think we spent a lot of time on that during our program of study, did we? During the program of studies review and new Project Lead the Way and stuff? Maybe I missed it. Did we talk about that?
No, we don't have it in the program of studies for the high school because this would be a change in program for elective course offerings.
That's good. I just want to make sure, because I felt like I missed something. True, at the end of the day, I'm all good for this, and I'm a Project Lead the Way fan. I had it in my school when I was there. All good there. But I just thought I'd missed some of the implementation where it was coming in. But I do understand scheduling, and I understand it's one for another, and it's not an increase of bodies. Got it, good. And the same with fifth grade too. So we're expanding into fifth grade?
We're expanding.
But it's not an increase of bodies,
Right.
it's an increase of the institution of the program.
Right. We have staffing for that already. Yeah.
Good.
We have staffing in existing sections for those courses moving into next school year. Really, the shift is in materials, curricular materials, and instructional practices moving into next school year.
Well said. That's exactly what I thought it was, but I think that's good clarification for us, that this is all about the practice and how we're teaching it, as opposed to who is teaching it.
Correct.
You know, it's excellent, good. Biology teaching, so the new biology, CP2 to CP1 only or CP only.
CP only.
Is there a PD that's necessary for this summer for a major, because this is a little bit of shift.
I think
Co-teaching combined.
I think we're going to need a lot of PD moving forward for all of the co-teaching shifts that are coming at the high school, but we don't have someone for that position at this time. You thanked Mr. Warius earlier, who has been our science special education teacher for the last 5 years and is retiring after 17 years in the district. And so we're moving to a new teacher who will start with us at the very end of August. And we're going to have to spend a lot of time during the year and a lot of time hopefully getting common prep time with the one biology teacher and common prep time with the one chemistry teacher. And I guess we'll build the plane while we fly it.
Well, that's a great answer, because I know you're going to have to build a schedule soon.
You'll build it over
I've built high school,
years.
so you're building it into the schedule right now
So
for this to happen, right?
common planning time isn't something that's going to be built into the high school schedule for next year
It happens in spots.
intentionally.
Yeah.
It happens in spots as the high school continues to revisit their schedule. I know that that's a goal of theirs coming out of our NEASC vision work. That's clearly a goal. The other piece that I would mention, you had asked about professional development. We continue to be a part of DESE's MTSS Inclusive Instruction Academy. As part of that, there's a focus on MTSS, multi-tiered systems of support, universal design for learning, and co-teaching. So it is a part of our professional development plans moving forward. We've also been very fortunate to have Lisa Deeker, Dr. Deeker, supporting us in other buildings on co-teaching practices as well. And there's intentional professional development planned in the upcoming school year in order to grow that practice into the high school. As early as August, we'll be supporting co-teaching teams through our professional development days. So even though it feels as though it might be a science curriculum review recommendation, it's something that we know that we can compensate for and account for in our existing professional development plans.
Thank you. Thank you for that answer. I think that's important to know, because this is a little bit of a shift. Co-teaching and combining levels,
Absolutely.
that's a very different instruction.
And I think you might be relieved to hear that our biology teacher that's going to have the 2 co-taught sections next year has had 1 co-taught section for the last 5 years, and our chemistry teacher has been in the supported classroom for the last several years. We haven't had a co-teacher, but had been a co-teacher in science and has that experience under his belt as well. So it's not completely out of nowhere.
Yeah, I would have expected
Mr. Chair?
that too. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to follow up on your question. We had that discussion when Mr. Michael Asa came on board, and after his first year, it was in the vein of getting the co-teaching introduced into the elementaries and the younger ages and scaling it up. And I was very active and excited for paying it forward till we got to this point, because it's after my heart. But having co-taught science run really well, it makes all the difference. Yeah. And not having the way you're re-leveling the situation, I think is just going to be good for all kids. So the wheels are turning slow, but I think in this kind of thing, it's philosophical, and it does take years to get that relationship down and that co-teaching relationship down. But I applaud you for having a document that's robust and shows a path forward, even if you don't know what the specific stops are going to look like. So thank you.
Yeah, well said. Thank you. Anything else?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the adoption of the biology for the AP course by Morris.
Thank you. Rob, second?
I'd like to second.
Sarah?
Okay.
Any further? All in favor of the first motion? 5-0, thank you. And a second motion?
I'll make a motion.
Hey, give
I'm
me
on a,
one.
you know, why not?
Good at it.
I'm gonna, that we commit to adopting at the high school Project Lead the Way expansion for engineering as a pathway.
Second.
Second by Brent. Any further discussion? All in favor? Thank you very much. 5-0 for that as well. Thank you all very much for your time. And thanks for all the hard work. I
Thank you,
said it
guys.
earlier, but thank you again.
Thank you very much, you guys.
And thank you to the principals for showing up and supporting their work, Mr. Stanton, Ms. Frazier, Ms. Morrissey, and Mr. Worth. Thank you all for being here to support. The third.
Mr. Worth the third.
I'm sorry.
The third, you have to say the
Third.
third.
Thanks.
The third.
Great. What a great presentation. Thank you all. Next is on the agenda is the review of the superintendent's evaluation process. If I can just throw in a couple date questions here, if I don't mind, just, this is a topic, I put some dates in here and some discussion. So part of the superintendent's evaluation process is a compiled report from us as a school committee, where we bring everyone's thoughts and views together for the compilation. I believe we'll probably use Michelle, we'll use her to, will she submit?
She'll need to, yes.
She'll submit to her as one of the 5, since you are brand new.
Yeah.
So since she was here last year. But one of the in moving forward for this process is, we'll talk a little bit about it today, but then it's compiling that information, how I collect all the information as your chair, and then the dates going forward. So I do want to talk a little bit about that. Is that okay with everyone? So about how we get that done. So I think what we'll do here is we'd have to talk about our next meeting a little bit, which is going to happen in July. We've always done a retreat. But then how do we get information to me in advance of that meeting so that we can have the compiled report? So if it's okay with everyone, I was thinking about maybe, bouncing off some ideas for you of July 17th or 18th, possibly for a retreat meeting. Last year, we did that meeting on July 11th, which was a Monday, when we had availability at Mill Street. So just offering up the 17, 18 as a ballpark, and then we'll check for the availability of Mill Street. And then we can finalize the data. Nope, bad idea.
It's a Monday or Tuesday, right?
It was, I just picked Monday or Tuesday because we had Mondays and the Tuesdays in the past. So I just picked 17, 18. For no,
Either day works for me. Monday's probably better than the Tuesday, but I can make them both.
yeah. Brent,
Most likely be out of town that week.
good.
But
Good. Faster retreat.
Good.
Working out.
Well, and would maybe the next week's possible too. I could only do the 24th the next week if we're trying to get everyone together.
I can do the 24th.
But, and we could sit around and spend the dates, and we could find they're not available too, so, at Mill Street. What's the 24th look like?
It's fine.
it's fine.
Okay. So,
Wasn't so hard.
that wasn't too bad. So let's shoot for the 24th.
Vacation,
I cannot
that's
do the 25th, so I could shoot for the 24th. Now, so go ahead.
I don't know if it matters, I can't make the 24th.
Okay.
Oh, you can't?
I can't.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sorry.
You know,
I
and
just-
it matters because that's.
Yeah, you have to
well,
vote.
This is,
Yeah, no,
for this body.
Yeah, got it.
Moving forward, that's our strategic planning, so.
Sorry, I just realized.
That's okay. That's okay.
Unless, if you want to go on vacation with me and my kids the week before.
What's the week before look like?
I'll be away.
You'll be away 10 through 14?
Yeah.
Can we come?
Sure. Going to Nashville in July.
Martin's barbecue.
So there we go. Let's go back to,
Mr. Pearson, how you feeling right now?
yeah. Well, we were doing so well for
I
a
know,
moment.
sorry.
Well, what
No, it's
about the
okay.
26th or 27th
I-
of July? Is that whole week not good for anyone?
I will be unavailable from 25 through August 6th.
Okay.
How
So,
about earlier?
sorry. Well, one's a conference, one's a vacation.
I'm back the 12th. I could do the 13th. It's a Thursday.
Okay, so that 13, 14, 15.
What about 13, 14? Yeah, that's possible. What's 13, 14 look like?
Let's do the, I can't.
I'm not available the 13th. That's the Superintendent's Institute.
But would you love to come back from that on the 14th? No, I'm just kidding. It sounds terrible.
I mean, it's quick, but I can do the 6th.
July?
Yeah, that Thursday.
Is the 10th off limits for everyone? Or is that, that's the is that
I'll be
the
away.
conference week?
No.
I'll be away.
July 10?
They're away.
You'll be
I'm in
away.
Nashville.
14th?
Yeah.
It's a Friday night.
You're a Friday night.
Are we doing it in the evening?
Yeah.
I have a wedding.
Nice.
Okay.
Well, if
interesting.
Fridays are on the table, I can do the is everybody with, did someone say the 7th?
I am away on the 7th.
Okay.
I have to-
I mean, it's summer, it's hard, so.
Can we go as far as August 7th, or is that too far?
Well, I'll be on vacation then.
Okay. Well, then,
Who's on first?
we might just have to do it with 4 members.
Could
I
we,
don't know what else to say, that we just shot the whole month of July and.
can we Zoom any members in?
Yes.
I think we still can, correct?
It potentially changes the location we do it, but that's fine. And the other thing is, if you're talking 4, if I'm not on mic, if we're talking 4, as long as the input is there, because, we'll be doing reviewing the goals ahead of time, having the discussion about the soups, getting the evaluation done. But there's nothing wrong with one of us being
Are we
remote. And
allowed-
I could do that for
Yeah.
one of those dates because
Are we allowed to do an executive session remotely?
I don't
yeah, there's still the provisions in it, in
Sure
MASC.
about the executive session.
think.
Yes. You still follow the same rules about whatever, and then the minutes would reflect that.
Okay.
Sorry, I can look again, but the last time I looked was like 6 months ago, but.
So can I just, then we can lean in this direction. So is the 17th possible then? 17 or 18 possible? Is that a Zoom possibility? Or not?
That 7-8 is the 7th is a possibility.
7th of,
And
7th of what?
July.
Okay, 7th of July.
I could Zoom for that. And I can't Zoom on the week of the 17th, but I can Zoom, Mr. Pearson, when are you leaving?
Zoom 24?
I could Zoom 24.
I can Zoom 24.
You can Zoom 24
I
too?
believe so. Yeah.
Everyone else is okay? So we might have 5 people 24.
Actually, I could be in person 24, but either way.
Good,
If
yeah,
you
You
could
can
Zoom.
Zoom 24.
I believe so.
Are you sure? You can check.
We're in Vermont. The Wi-Fi may be a little sketchy,
Okay,
but yeah, I should
okay.
be able to.
That's
Okay,
fine.
so let's do that.
And we'll talk ahead of time, too.
So let's work on the 24th as our July meeting date, the 24th. And working back from that is when I get your feedback as members of the school committee for the superintendent's evaluation. That's where I was really going with it.
Mr. Chair, let me just clarify. So the July 24th is not a normal meeting. It's going to be our school committee retreat, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes. Our July meeting, I think we've only had one in July in the past, and that one July meeting was the school committee retreat, correct?
Correct.
Yep,
Everyone correct? Yeah. So we'll plan for that for the 24th.
great.
So then that helps me work backwards with you to get your feedback for the evaluation. Originally, I was going to ask for your feedback by the 7th.
Still can.
I can still do that, or really what I was trying to create was about a week between your feedback and when it has to be completed. So I could go as late as the 14th to procrastinate, but I'd say the 7th is a good idea. Thank you for your nod, I appreciate that. So I will work for your feedback on evaluation of the superintendent by July 7th.
Sounds good.
Okay? Great. Got the date, we worked backwards to that. Okay, thank you. Whew.
It's the only time we ever do that.
I should
all
make sure I
year.
write this down. I'm going to erase all the other dates that I had. Thank you, everyone, for that.
No, thank you.
Okay, good. And 7th is that date. Great.
How about that?
We did it.
Oh, it auto-corrected your name.
July 7. So, Dr. Burroughs, I don't know if you want to ask anything, or let me ask the committee first, that under this topic area for review of the superintendent's evaluation process, do any of you have questions or information to discuss? Would you like to say anything to start?
You could just kind of give an overview. You have a
Please.
lot of information that's in your packet. And just as a reminder, particularly for Michelle, since she's new, although you won't be writing a piece, This year, I think it's a really good opportunity to kind of learn the process. And the other piece that we've done historically is I meet individually with each school committee member to kind of hear information of your thoughts based on this. So, Michelle, I'd love also to set up a meeting individually with you as well, even though you won't contribute to the composite this year, because it's an opportunity for me to just get different perspectives on a one-on-one basis. So the process itself, as you know, started with goals back in September, and those goals were presented as part of my self-assessment, and then the plan, which had key actions and benchmarks throughout the school year, and then in February at our school committee meeting, we had the mid-cycle check-in where I talked about my progress towards those goals, of which I have 4, and then at the same time, the part that we do a little bit different in Foxborough are the things that, what am I really proud of? What am I working hard on? What are the challenges that are facing me at that time? And many times what I'm working really hard on coincide with the challenges at the same time. So we had that mid-cycle, and then as we get to the end of the year, it's the summative evaluation, and that is, again, a self-assessment of where I see myself on the goals that were set at the beginning of whether I've met, exceeded significant progress towards those goals, and then the broad over this 4 standards. So the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, they have in the last 3 years have identified focus indicators, and we've used those because there's a number of indicators, and even it goes down to elements under every standard to really prioritize the work. It started with COVID because of where we needed to really align districts in that work. And then at the same time with all of the work at the state level, which when we think about our diversity, equity, inclusion and that work and how that trickles down at the local level. So those indicators are really aligned to that work. And you'll see that obviously in mine as well, but that's work that we've been focusing on prior to the state even focusing on that work. So what you have is the goals to begin with, so just as a kind of just 30,000 foot view and some highlights here. Everyone that's educator has a professional practice goal, a student learning goal. If you are a principal, a district level, school level, or district level administrator, we have either a school improvement goal or a district improvement goal, and then many times there will be other goals. So the professional practice goal, which was the one that I have to say that I'm truly most excited about, and you see 2 of the members that are sitting here that are part of that goal, which was 50% of our administrative team was new. So 7 out of 14, when we think about our 5 central office administrators, our 5 principals, and our 4 assistant principals. To have 50% of an administrative team new in 1 year can be really quite daunting because they're experienced educators, administrators. They bring such a great wealth of background to us that we can learn from them. But at the same time, it's now pulling together a new team. So that goal itself was really to provide differentiated support to those leaders and to learn from them as they learn from us as a district, and then to really think about what their challenges are and to support them. And that has been, it really has been a great gift this year. We have such wonderful people that we've hired. We've always said that Foxborough is the destination, and it shows in the leaders that we have hired here. And I've learned a lot from them. I hope that they've learned from me as well. But as a team, it has been a great year. We had a book study on Simon Sinek's Leaders Eat Last. That particular book, at times I will say that it was a busy year, and continuing that focus was hard because you have so much to do. But we kept that focus throughout the year. And I think that the things that we discussed, it always kept our focus on really what are we doing for students and the teaching and learning, and that's what we're here for. So starting with our leadership retreat in the beginning of the year to working through building visits, solving problems together, problems of practice throughout the year, I really feel that it's been an area where I've been able to support our new administrators, but we've supported each other throughout the year. The second goal, which is the student learning goal, and that is continued from last year. Many times you'll have multi-year goals, and this is definitely one as we're supporting the multi-tiered system of support. And again, going back to ensuring equity and access for all students. You saw that and heard that just even in the science review this evening, and the equity piece and that access piece, and ensuring that we're holding opportunities available for all students, what that looks like. It's also a lot of work that we've done looking at data that we have in front of us. Things that you're familiar with and heard about throughout the school year, like the culture and climate survey data. We look at our own selection of student enrollment, looking at all of the baseline and benchmark data, again, that you saw back in the fall. So a lot of that information is brought to you during school committee meetings, but it's all of the behind-the-scenes work. And then it's also the work that we do that has budget implications going forward, and looking at, well, what are the needs to be able to best support students when we think about like the special education positions that were added, when we think about the social worker, when we think about the English language learner teacher, those positions, it all falls into providing supports for students as well. The third goal, which was the district improvement goal, the next school committee meeting on the 26th, you'll hear a lot more on that. So again, the purpose of this evening is to kind of give you a highlight of all the information that you're given, and then that is used as you put together your individual, evaluations. But even the next meeting will provide evidence for you, is my point, on the district improvement plan and those one-year action plans when you see. So that will all fold into more information for you than what you have here this evening. I think that one of my favorite days of the month is our diversity, equity, inclusion, our DEI committee, and leading that work, bringing in ideas, was an organization that provided professional development for us, had them come in a couple of different times through those meetings, but it's really more the work that we're doing ourselves with our teachers, and the best thing that came out of that were the focus groups that we did at all levels with students, and it really showed our committee how important it is to hear from the student's voice in these areas, and where we're maybe missing the mark and what we need to do. It informs the professional development that we need to do going forward. And that committee is so committed to looking at all aspects of, in the classroom, professional development, going back to hearing from the students, hearing from faculty, what are the needs, and that's going to drive our professional development, in addition to programming, obviously, for students next year. The fourth goal, and again, you have a whole list of things that are there to support as far as evidence there with those, but the fourth goal was many of these grants that we've had through COVID with the ESSER funds are sunsetting, and what were those positions? And as you know from the budget work that we did this year, taking those positions and really working with the principals, and what are the absolute needs to be able to support our students. And like those that I mentioned, when we think about the L teacher, the special educators, and the social workers, were examples that were funded through those grants that now have been voted, as you're aware, through town meeting with our budget that you supported. The overall 4 standards, those, when you take a look at the information that was provided to you, it really is looking at the first one when we think about instructional leadership. What degree am I, as the superintendent, effectively promoting teaching and learning and growth in the district, and how we make teaching and learning really the most important focus of the district. You've heard it all year. There's all different school committee meetings that are cited here from things that we've done, and even this evening, I think, is another great example. And I think it's fair to say that everything that we do, it goes back to the teaching and learning, starting with the teaching and learning highlight that was asked about, I know, by Joe, why we didn't have that this evening, as we recognized all of our retirees. But I do think that that's a great opportunity that shows even in different aspects the focus on more than what you hear through the curriculum reviews, through baseline and benchmarks, through the K-12 culture and climate survey data, all of these different program reviews that you hear about. Just something as simple as the teaching and learning highlight, that again goes back to, it really is that where our expectations are. The second standard, just overview, which is management and operations, and that's really looking at how as the superintendent, I'm effectively deploying resources to go towards making sure that we have a safe and efficient learning environment. So I'll say from a hiring standpoint, again, our fantastic administrators, leaders that have been hired this year, they have just done such outstanding work. I continue to hear from parents, from faculty and staff. They're just so excited about their new building leaders in the district. And then that also goes assistant superintendent with Dr. Burroughs too, from the district level. We've hired great people that we've done really great work this year. The other piece, when we think about safety, when we had the synergy training for October and that carrying it through March with all of our faculty and staff, when we think about intruders coming in, we know that we had an example of putting that into practice. And people, they felt prepared and that the training was the best training that they had had to date. So all of the other work that we've done with synergy, with looking at our buildings and preparing for any of those, a lot of work was done. So when we think about the environment under that standard as well this year, and you've got a number of other things that are listed. The third standard, which is family and community engagement, really looking at how I develop partnerships or work with our community. You've got a number of things that are listed there from organizations, but also when we think about even our own groups, whether it's parent leader meetings, whether it's our superintendent coffee hours, whether it's the serving on things like the Board of Incorporators for the YMCA or with the BICO Collaborative, engaging with them as they were hiring their business manager for this year and stepping out and doing those kinds of things. And then even with Safe Coalition, looking for alternative ways to partner with them for students that might, in lieu of a suspension, as an example, how they can then go to a 3-day course for substance abuse or something like that. So that work is really important in being from an educational standpoint, but in another way to be able to better support our students. So those are some of the new partnerships for this year. And then the last standard, standard 4, which is professional culture. And that, I think, goes in line with everything that I've talked about when we think about promoting the success of all of our students and sustaining and strengthening our culture and climate. We have such a strong culture and climate in this district that is evidenced by the survey that's shared with you in the fall that was given to all of our parents and staff and students, middle school and high school, back in May, and we'll be presenting, bless you, that information in the fall. But again, it really shows that we have this strong culture and climate, and we've been able to sustain that over the many, many years. But that goes back to the dedicated staff, administrators, faculty, staff, everywhere that we have within the district that makes it a positive learning experience for students. So when we can support and model a culture, and I feel like you model that from the top, that it's really important to show that what is most important to us, and it is having an environment that's going to support students and support each other, and I think that there's a multitude of examples there that show that. And then the last part, I would say, is those individual meetings, to schedule those with you, to reach out to me directly or to reach out to Lenore to try and schedule those. So any other questions about all of the information that you have that I can answer that, any feedback that you have for me, and then if there's anything else that you want me to present to you as you're working on your individual evaluations, to please let me know that as well.
Thank you. Thank you for the review. Any questions from the committee members? Good. Hearing none, seeing none. We'll move forward with July 7th as a target.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
And thank you to the 3 principals, elementary principals that are here as well. I couldn't do any of this if it were not for, folks like them. who
Dream
do
team.
outstanding work.
And-
It's the dream team.
Yeah.
Dream team over there.
And what Dr. Burroughs added too.
Well, I was going to say, piggybacking off that, we were very clear at our July meeting, I think, that job number 1 was you all. And that was Dr. Burroughs' priority too. So if it's been going well, we're delighted. So.
Fantastic.
Great.
Great.
That brings us to other matters. Any other matters?
I
Please.
have other matters, so not sure if everybody knows, but this town has a active SEPAC group, which is a Special Education Parent Advisory Council, which I am a member of, and Erin Bowes and Carrie Weston is also a member of. We've wrapped up for this year, and I just wanted to put out there if there are any other parents who are interested. Unfortunately, the three of us are going to age out soon, so we would like to keep this active and we would like to keep this going. We meet monthly with our student service director, Mr. Corey Michael-Lazick, and that'd be great. So if anybody is interested, please reach out to us. We would love to have your involvement. And again, I just want to bring up the Special Olympics. The three of us were there. It was just such an amazing event. Colleen and Teresa, they put in so much work, and it just like so much extra work to get this all done. It was just an entire day of positivity. Everybody there was just incredible. All the student volunteers were there and their help. Nathan was there, right? You were there as well. I saw you there. It was just a great day. There was a lot of positivity. It was just amazing. They had the javelin toss. They even had pickleball. Pickleball has even infiltrated the Special Olympics.
It's everywhere now.
If anybody is interested in joining the SEPAC, please reach out to us. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Nothing for me.
Nothing?
You know that I
I know.
have a bunch of stuff. Can we just put Parks and Rec update every week on every meeting on the agenda? We do. I did want to just take a second. I lost my message here. The booth program is filling up for the summer, so a lot of our kids go over to that program, and that's filling up. Town pool is moving along, should be open early in July. I just want to take a second. This is not really school committee or even necessarily Parks and Rec, but I want to thank everybody for an amazing Founders Day. It's such a positive event. Michelle came, we walked for the school committee. Everybody just was so happy. It was great to get back to normal. Lots of familiar faces that cross over from the school, from Parks and Rec, just so many people that help bring just an amazing day together, and it was a really fun day. So just want to say thank you to everyone there. And Renee just wanted to send a message that I thought was really important to share in this venue. She just wanted to say, and I want to read, how thankful I am. Can you please mention how thankful I am for all the Foxborough High School and community warriors that helped me out this year? I could never have done it without them. And I am forever grateful to Catherine Keller and Kelly Bishop and all the other all the other people that helped those clubs happen. So I just wanted to read that and just, I always love a positive share, but I'm just really proud of our students that just come out time and time again. We do so much at Parks and Rec. There's so many events, and they come out every time. They're there, they're a presence. So I did want to take a second to just single out a student. She's actually a Ursuline student who came out on Founders Day as our volunteer to line the tennis courts for the. She took chalk and line for all the families and the children who participated in the doll carriage and wagon parade, and that was really kind and nice of her to come out and spend her Saturday morning with us. So I think I am at the end of my thank yous, so I think that's it.
I'll second thank you that has been offered already, but to everybody who made graduation so smooth. It's actually the first time I've ever been able to attend because I wasn't at a different high school graduation, and it was a wonderful event. And so thank you for all the work that the community put into it, especially parents, faculty, and all the admin facilities. It was just a beautiful fitting to a long career.
Thank you, Brent. You did a wonderful job speaking.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. It was mostly Nathan's ideas. And then I also want to thank Ms. Thaxton and Ms. Ladani for marching in the parade while I watched you. I'd never attended a Founders Day parade that I wasn't walking in, and I was just like, nah, I'm just going to watch this. It was awesome. We have a lot of trucks. There's a lot of trucks. Did you know so many trucks? Anyway, that's it.
So with us approaching our final week of the school year for our students and everything, I just wanted to take a moment, although we continue on with the meeting later in the month, in the July meeting, just to thank all of you for great work this year. We did a lot of work. I've repeated it in a couple meetings recently, but I think I choose to repeat it again, that there's a lot of things we keep our eye on and pay attention to, a lot of important things that we really delve into and spend a lot of time on. So just thank you all for another great school year. Your collaboration as school committee members and concerned community members is very valuable to what we do. I quite enjoy it. I quite enjoy coming here and being with you. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Burroughs?
So I was not able to attend for the first time Foxborough's graduation because my own son was graduating from high school at the same time, but I did go back and watch it. So yes, I echo. Nice job representing the school committee during that as well, and that it was weird to sit back to watch it. So I look forward to being back in person next year. But yes, very nice.
And
very
congratulations
nice
to you.
Thank you. It feels a little bit funny to have all 4 students of my children all out of high school now, but just next chapter. Next chapter. We have the Juneteenth holiday on Monday that's coming up. But the only other thing that I just wanted to add is really the closing of the school year. It does cause a lot of reflection. And just to echo again, thank you to all of our staff and administrators and teachers, but to our parents too, because we know that it is a partnership in order to have a successful school year, whether it's volunteering or it's just being there with the homework or the conversations and supporting the schools. We have a very supportive community. We know that. We're very grateful for that and just really hope that everyone has a safe summer. We know summer can bring unstructured opportunities for students, and so we just really want to have all of our students have a wonderful summer, but a safe summer at the same time. And we'll look forward to seeing them at the rest of this week, but then when they return back in September.
Thank you. Dr. Burroughs?
I have 2 thank yous. I wanted to thank Michelle and Sarah for accompanying a couple of our Foxborough faculty and administrators to our Metco conference just this past week. It was a wonderful time. It was really great to be there with members of the school committee and to have you learn with us about the importance of supporting our students in the Metco program and the importance of working on diversity and equity and inclusive practices together. And I believe there is a photo.
It's Zoom in time. We love a happy share, and it was a happy day.
It was a great day. It was really positive, really supportive, wonderful speakers and PD, and it was great having you both there. So thank you for taking the time to come with us.
It's a great day.
Mr. Yurkna? I'm good. Nathan? Grace? Nathan, thanks for helping out with Special Olympics, making a difference in the lives of others, right? Grace as well, too. Sorry, excuse me, I didn't know. But thank you both. Thank you for making a difference. Anyone else?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second. Oh.
All in favor? Approved. Thank you very much. Meeting adjourned.